So in this next lesson, we're going to learn just a little introduction to how we can work with type. Different sizes, different spacing, and maybe put some effects on it. So taking a look at our Intergalactic Italy, let's follow suit. So we've been talking a lot about keyboard shortcuts here and there. So the easiest keyboard shortcut to remember is simply the T to get to our type tool. So you'll notice here is the T, but if I literally just type out T, it just takes me right there. So that's one you definitely want to commit to memory if possible. As soon as I click on that T, I want you to notice a few things. Up on top, I'm going to get a whole bunch of options here in my options panel, all around type. So it's very important before we start typing anything out, we identify what size the font it's going to be typing out in, okay? Because sometimes if it's too big, we just can't see any type at all. So that's just one little tip for you, because like, I know I'm typing something out, but if it's coming in as 100 points because that's the last thing you did, then you're gonna have some problems, you're gonna be confused. All right, so just keep that in mind. So kind of good rule of thumb, I like to just make mine a little bit smaller, just because I can always make it bigger. Okay, so, but you can of course make it smaller, but sometimes you can't find it to begin with. So I also might want to figure out which font I'm going to use ahead of time. So let's just do a quick little introduction of where we can actually find our fonts and how we can also filter some of our fonts. So here's all our fonts, very similar to any other program you've probably used before. But there's a few other additions that you may not have seen before, which I really, really like. All right, you're going to see here how they give you, of course, a little preview of what it looks like. But then you'll see how there's these little stars here. So for example, like my luckiest guy, I can click on that little star and then you notice how the star gets darker. Let me just try another one. Let's just use this Bauhaus burner. Okay, I'm just kind of shopping around. What am I doing? I am saving these as my favorites for later. Comic Sans, no thank you. All right, keep going on from there. Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. So when does this come into play? I just saved all my favorites. If I click on that little star right now, it filters it out. So then, bam, all I show is like my company fonts, my client fonts. Okay, great. I know we're only using those because my computer has so many fonts to work with, right? I don't want to see all of them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click that again, and then it comes right back. You'll also notice that there's a little drop-down menu where it says All Classes. Click on that, and you might see some different things that you recognize, like a serif font. Only show me my serif fonts, right? Serifs just have these little tails and hats. Sans serif does not. Okay, what about a slab serif? Let's see what that's going to be a little more kind of boldish, if you will, right? Bigger serifs, right? Bigger tails and big feet. Okay, and then you can see handwritten, decorative, all these things here. I'm going to come back to all classes. Just a good takeaway here is that Photoshop gives you a lot of control over your fonts, what you want to see, how you want to see it. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to choose my luckiest guy, and I'm going to now draw out a text box so it fits in perfectly within that text box. That's one option. Or you could just simply click and type, and it'll just go on and on and on and on. I like to actually create the text box, so I'm creating a sort of beginning and end, so it kind of gets confined. Not too much, not too little. Now, what Photoshop will do is it will put in this filler text for you, but I'm just going to go to override that. So I'm going to just start typing Intergalactic, what did I say? Can't even remember what I said. I'll just say Piazza, right? Let's do it a little different this time. Okay, Intergalactic Piazza. Okay, and then I have to tell it that I'm done. So go back to your check mark. It's great. And if you see here, I have a new layers panel. Excuse me, a new layer called Intergalactic Piazza. Wonderful. Now, this, of course, is not the color I want. It's not the size I want. So I need to go ahead and edit that. So how do I edit this text? If you simply just double click inside there, and then if you triple click, you get all of the text. Double clicking goes right inside of it. Triple clicking selects all the text inside there. Now I can make my type a little bit bigger. I can change the color. I can do all kinds of different things to it. So what's a great way to make it bigger is if you move your mouse over the little t and the big T, just by simply clicking and dragging, I'll be able to, okay, great, that's wonderful. I can then do it that way rather than having to click on the drop down. It's again, we've seen this, 3 or 4 times already. how we can work with this. Great. Let's make it a little bit bigger. All right, so it just stays within that box. Click on my checkbox, go to my move tool, and then in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my arrow keys. Why am I using my arrow keys in my keyboard? That's a really great pro tip for moving your content using your arrow keys, because that way I'm not accidentally clicking on this other shape here. This is the first situation where we've actually had a little bit of a potential issue where I might accidentally click on this and then that gets moved. If I use my arrow keys on my keyboard, I can then just isolate that without having to accidentally click on something else. And if you hold down the Shift key, it goes 10 pixels instead of 1 pixel. Okay, so you'll get a chance to practice that when we take our little break. All right, now again, I'm gonna go ahead and select all my type, and I'm just gonna make that maybe simple white for right now. Click OK. Great. That's going to be just bringing in some very simple type. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, give you a chance to practice that, and then feel free to filter some of your type, change the size, use some of those little shortcuts that we did.